the work that you do daily is something that you feel you have to disconnect from in order to be happy, and in order to feel like your human spirit is in integrity with itself, then it's your responsibility to change the nature of the work that you're doing. I really don't believe in restoration. I don't believe in restoring anything to a state that it had been in the past. I believe in regeneration. I believe in working with what has died and with what no longer serves us, and with what we see not being right in the world, to create something even better and in more harmony, that is more functioning, more dynamic, more evolutionary. And that's what I see in the people around me here, and that's what I see in the work that they're doing. The community that I'm from is connected to the Ram Dass community of Neem Karoli Baba, and the teachings of our path, of our spiritual and religious path, are very simple. We have the instructions to love everyone, to serve everyone, which also includes feeding everyone, to remember God, and to tell the truth. It's really simple, and it allows us to include everything held within it. And it's that omni-inclusivity that brings me to events like this, coming from a community that is deeply connected to the earth and deeply connected to peace movements, and is also led by women. It's very important to me to help support the transition of the world that we live in and the culture that we live in. Gatherings like this are always really different from one another, as much as they may seem and feel like it's the same kind of thing repeating over and over again, because each of them builds upon any of the events that have happened before. Whether or not we who are gathered here have attended even anything else, we feel the collective energy of people having difficult conversations and exciting conversations and life-giving conversations and direct experiences that lead to a sense that the most beautiful world that our hearts know is possible, to use Charles Eisenstein's words. My experience in this setting has been one of tremendous personal growth. As much as we can have really good ideas about what to do in the outside world, it's equally or even more important that we anchor those ideas into our own being and into deep self-reflection. And that's what I've been noticing in this particular gathering, is that everyone I'm encountering is really deeply self-reflecting and understanding the ways that maybe they've missed the mark in the past, maybe the ways that they have missed the mark today, maybe the ways that they could really be doing things better. They could be allies better to the land and to the indigenous people of the land and to the people around the world that have been marginalized by people like me who have white skin. And these conversations are not easy, and they're vitally important. And I find them incredibly nourishing in environments like this, because there's a safe container that's rooted in the sacredness of everything around us. So we know that it's safe to go into where we're uncomfortable in order to become more whole. On the first day of this gathering, Charles Eisenstein spoke about humility. And after him, I spoke also about humility. And something that my mother always says that I didn't share when I spoke is that humility is knowing your place and taking it. And I find that having as much diversity as possible in a container helps us to understand who's doing what in the world, how we can support them, what our place might be, and also what damages we may have done in the past, what damages our ancestors may have done, what we are responsible, what we are able to respond to in this world that we are trying to heal. Having the presence of the youth, having the presence of indigenous people, having the presence of Black people in this country that was built by slave labor is so essential to the growth of our own consciousnesses, those of us who are white, as I am. It's so essential that we humble ourselves and listen deeply, that we listen to our own discomforts in response to the things that others say that may be unusual for us or difficult to digest. Having the container of trust and vulnerability and intimacy, and acknowledging that all of our roots are in the sacred earth that we are meeting on, helps us all to dive into that process with a commitment to our growth and a commitment to really living a sacred walk on this planet and living beautifully in the world and living with true freedom. Freedom culture means to me that all living things on this planet have access to the resources that they need to do what they in their deepest selves know is theirs to do on this planet. Underneath all of our conditioning, underneath all of our trauma, is our most authentic selves, and our most authentic selves know what they need to do. Freedom's an interesting concept for me because I believe deeply in freedom. I don't believe in independence. I don't believe in separation. I believe that we experience separation. I believe that it's the source of immense trauma for us. And I see freedom as being the ability to be in ecstatic wonder and meaningful contribution to the interdependent web of life. This planet is the only place that our species can reasonably consider home. Think about that a lot, and I think about what this planet is. And it's a sphere hurtling through space. And we get caught up in our daily lives and in our minds and in our human relationships, and we forget to develop a relationship with the earth, which is what produced everything else we're in relationship with, whether it's the internet or my best friend or my puppy or my own home, my job, my career, the political movements that I feel drawn to. Everything came out of this planet. It is the most important relationship that we have. This gathering in particular is on very sacred land that has been cultivated for a long time by people who understand the importance of a good relationship with the planet. So coming here allows us to connect with that sense of the sacred, even if we're people who live incredibly busy, ungrounded lifestyles. It helps us to remember the truth that we know in the deepest part of ourselves, that we are all indigenous to the planet and we are all deeply responsible for its healing. I was raised in a religious environment that was very connected to the earth. And it always confused me why all the other religious kinds of dialogues and conversations that were happening around me had so much to do with the sky god, with transcendence, with leaving the body. And in contemplating that, I've come to an understanding of the misplacement of human awareness, that it has been so focused on what's above and not on what's beneath us and all around us. And I think that very directly is reflected in our relationship with carbon on this planet and what human industry has done with carbon on this planet. We don't have a problem with carbon being in the world. Carbon is not the issue. It's a displacement into the sky from the earth. When we understand that, and we understand that our own awareness, the human awareness, and what our human bodies are made out of, carbon, both of these things are in the atmosphere, in the sky, above our heads, ungrounded. And there are tremendous solutions available to us for both of these things. There are very simple earth-based solutions for many, if not all, of the problems that we're facing as a species right now. And we are facing them as a species, but recognize that it's a fundamental relationship with our own sense of our bodies being sacred, the body of the planet being sacred. And I believe that if we can ground our spirituality into our bodies, into a sacred relationship with our sexuality, into a sacred relationship with power, and also be in our hearts, and also be in our voices, and also be in our wisdom, and also be in our direct connection with the stars, and with all the transcendent wisdom that does exist out there. That is an important aspect of bringing the carbon back down into our bodies, bringing it back down into the body of the planet. And coming to a new equilibrium. I really don't believe in restoration. I don't believe in restoring anything to a state that it had been in the past. I believe in regeneration. I believe in working with what has died and with what no longer serves us, and with what we see not being right in the world, to create something even better and in more harmony, that is more functioning, more dynamic, more evolutionary. And that's what I see in the people around me here. And that's what I see in the work that they're doing. And it's deeply nourishing to my spirit to know that I'm not alone in seeing the world this way. I'm not alone in longing for an alternative way of being on this planet. And that we're all trying to make it easier for each other and make it easier for people who can't come to these events for whatever reasons they can. This is not an elite gathering just for our own benefit and edification and ego. It's to drop a pebble in the fabric of reality to create a ripple and many ripples to create true justice and peace and freedom and ease for everyone on this planet, and not just the humans, all species. And I do believe that it's possible, and I believe that it's possible more and more every time I'm in an environment like this with beautiful people like the ones I've been encountering.